It's really an honor and a privilege to be with all of you this evening. He said it was just a few years ago, but hard to believe it's actually been 11 years now since I was sitting in your seat as the newly elected commander of my chapter. I remember coming to College of Chapters a little disappointed that my winter break was over and my last round of golf for a little while had been played. But I also came here with an incredible amount of optimism and excitement for the fact that I had just been elected by my peers to lead my chapter for the next 12 months. It was a hard-fought battle, something that I had worked toward for over a year, and I had finally attained it and accomplished it, and I was ready to hit the ground running. Now, I left College of Chapters still optimistic and still excited about the year ahead, but that optimism and excitement was tempered by the responsibility of the role that I had volunteered to shoulder. You all are soon to find, if you have not already, that this is about to be one of the hardest, most challenging years of your lives thus far. But I do believe that when the risk is high, so too is the reward. And what I love about College of Chapters is it is all about helping you maximize the experience that you will soon have over the next 12 months. And so when Tim and Brad were kind enough to invite me to share a few minutes with all of you, I said, what in the world do I want to talk about this evening? And I think what I want to share with you are a few thoughts about what I maybe know now on the other side of serving as commander that I wish I had known then that would have helped me better navigate the challenges and the opportunities before me. Now, I know you've all had a long day, and that day is not over yet. And so I'm going to keep this very short and simple. I've tried to boil it down to essentially 5 characteristics that I think will serve you well and that I would recommend to you as you chart the course ahead. The first of those 5 characteristics is leadership. A lot of you are probably feeling right now like the dog that finally caught the car, and you don't have any idea what to do next. I would recommend that a good starting place is to ask yourself, what is leadership? What does it mean to be a leader? Now, everyone you talk to will have a different definition of what it means to be a leader. But from where I sit, I think a leader is someone who leverages his strengths and the strengths of his brothers to create value for his chapter and for our fraternity. That then begs the question, how does one create value? At our company, we talk about value as being a function of both risk and return. Math was never my strong suit. Functions and equations I don't honestly know much about. But what I understand this statement to mean is that you can create value for your enterprise by either increasing return, decreasing risk, or doing both of those things simultaneously. Conversely, you can destroy value for your enterprise by reducing return or increasing risk. Let me tell you, most of the brothers in your chapter are almost solely focused on the return component of that equation. As commander, because of the responsibility you have volunteered to shoulder and because of the liability that now rests at your feet, you must be just as, if not more, focused on the risk component to that equation. Number 1, leadership. Number 2, accountability. If being a good leader is someone who leverages his strengths and the strengths of his brothers to create value for his chapter, then I think there are also 3 levels of responsibility and accountability. The first, of course, is to be responsible and accountable for yourself. Past Regent John Hearn, his father, George Hearn, who we miss dearly, and I think about him often anytime I'm in the context of Sigma Nu fraternity. He used to challenge us to STE, set the example. Because if you as commander don't set the example for your brothers and for your chapter, who will? You're responsible for yourself, but you're also responsible for your teammates. In this case, your brothers. We've all heard the saying, you are your brother's keeper. There's a famous statue of a young boy on the shoulders of his older brother. And the inscription under that statue reads, "He ain't heavy, he's my brother." Now, I bet a lot of you now or will soon feel like the burden you carry for your brothers is a lot and perhaps too much. But I actually think this notion of being your brother's keeper is one of the strongest components of the Sigma Nu and fraternal value proposition that we have to share. It used to be you could go to college, make mistakes, learn from them, be better for them, and sail off into the rest of your life and career unscathed. Gentlemen, that's no longer the case. 24-hour social media, provocative headlines. There's very little room for error in today's college environment. But when I think back about being commander of MU chapter, we probably had about 150 men. There were days and nights that I made poor decisions, that I made mistakes. But on those nights or days that were not so great for me, I had 149 other brothers who were hopefully having a better day or night than I was having, that could look out for me and keep me from making a mistake that could potentially alter my life or my career, or God forbid, the life or career of someone else. That safety net is so unique in today's world, and particularly in today's college environment. And so enjoy it and appreciate it and be better for it. We're responsible for ourselves, for our brothers, but we're also responsible for something greater. That's the enterprise. It's not you, it's not your brothers, it's your chapter. It's Greek life on your campus. It's our fraternity. It's our country. It's this notion of serving a cause greater than your own self-interest, being bigger than your own bottom line. When you think about it, each of us is a temporary steward of an enterprise that hopefully will last much longer than we will. I'll be back in Athens in a couple weeks to celebrate Sigma Nu's 150th anniversary at MU chapter. I served as commander for only one of those 150 years. It reminds me of an old piece of advice that my mentor, the retired senior vice president of the Coca-Cola, used to tell new folks on his team that were so proud and excited to get that business card with the Coca-Cola company logo on it, the world's most recognized brand, one of the most valuable brands in the history of the world. And they were so excited and so proud and felt like they could do no wrong. But Earl was quick to remind them that that company was the lamp, and they were just a lampshade. And if something happens to that lamp, if that light goes out, there is no value in having a lampshade. We talked about leadership and accountability. Now I'd like to talk about communication. I think communication is perhaps one of, if not the most important characteristics that a leader can leverage to the success of themselves and their organization. If you think about it, yesterday, today, tomorrow, you all are having the incredible benefit of the experience that is College of Chapters, the resources, the relationships, the network, the best practices. The folks back home have not had the benefit of that same experience. And so it is incumbent upon you to go back to your chapter and communicate to your brothers, communicate to your constituents what you've learned, how that's changed you, how that's shaped your vision for your chapter, and how you intend to achieve that vision. At our company, we talk about this notion that you have to define who you are, or someone else will. So I encourage you to go back enthusiastically and optimistically and share who you are, what you want to achieve, how you're going to get there, and why it's important. Not why it's important for you, but for your brothers and for your chapter. It's essentially this notion of creating a shared consciousness where everybody is on the same page, in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. Leadership, accountability, communication, ownership. If you think about it, you were elected to lead your chapter. Your peers chose you to make difficult decisions that oftentimes they are not willing to make. But while you were elected the leader of your chapter, you are an equal shareholder in that chapter. And so you have to be mindful of the folks around you. I truly believe that your obligation to excellence, your obligation to your chapter and this fraternity is at its heart an obligation to others. It means you have to share equally in credit, and it means you have to take the lion's share of the blame when that blame may or may not be well-deserved, laying at your feet. I had the opportunity to serve on the athletic board of the University of Georgia many years ago. Go Dogs. Looking forward to being in LA here in a few days for our national championship redo. And I remember having lunch with our athletic director at the time, a guy named Greg McGarity, one of the few Florida Gators I have ever met and actually liked. And Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi, had just put out a study of 100 game day improvements that they were going to make before the next football season based on feedback from their season ticket holders and other fans. And I remember telling Greg, hey, I hate to admit it, but I think that's a pretty good idea. We ought to try that at UGA. And I will never forget what Greg told me. He said, Wells, it may be Ole Miss, but nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. I think one of the most important characteristics as a leader, especially as you move from chapter leadership into your career, is to know what you don't know and surround yourself with people that compensate for your deficiencies, one, because it makes you a better leader, but two, because it achieves that buy-in where they feel like they are a shareholder and they feel a responsibility and an accountability to support you in getting the job done right and getting it done the right way. Leadership, accountability, communication, ownership. Finally, I want to talk about humility. I already mentioned this is going to be one of the most difficult and challenging years of your life. If you think about it, all of you, at your relative age and professional experience, are not in a great position to lead an organization, some of which are over 100 or 150 individuals strong, with budgets in the hundreds of thousands, perhaps the millions of dollars. There is no way to prepare for this. Now, College of Chapters helps, but I think you have to acknowledge that the task before you is greater than what you will likely be able to accomplish on your own. So one, you've got to have the humility to lean on others, including your alumni and the fraternity and the folks who will help you along the way. But you've also got to be willing to stomach the grace of knowing that you will make mistakes and you will fail. And no matter how smart you are, how hard you try, how good you think you are, on occasion you will fall short. I remember when John Hearn and Michael Berry told me that at the beginning of my career as commander. I said, no way, I'm going to knock this ball out of the park, piece of cake. They were right. Times come of adversity and challenge. You make mistakes, you fall short. But I'll never forget they told me, Wells, if you lead with vision and courage, if you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, if you do your level best, we will support you and stand with you every step of the way. And they did. Another example where I think fraternity is such a special opportunity to learn and grow and be a better person and a leader as a result. Having shared those 5 characteristics, I want to leave you with 2 stories and one closing thought. I have been so fortunate over my life and career to have some incredible mentors. And a lot of the lessons I've shared with you today are not original or unique. These 2 stories in particular are not, but I want to share with them because I think they are so relevant to the conversation we're having this evening. My chairman and president and CEO likes to talk about the 3 rules for winning a fist fight. Rule number 1, pick the time and the place and get ready. For those of you who have read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, he says something to the effect of, the greatest determinant of success in battle is being able to influence the conditions under which that battle will be fought. In standing for election as commander, you have picked the time and you have picked the place. And now you're here at College of Chapters to get ready. Because the second rule of winning a fist fight is to hit first. And it better be your best shot because you may not get another one. This is now your opportunity to step up and to lead and to shine and to leverage the relationships and the resources and the perspective that you've gained here in Roanoke to make these next 12 months your best possible effort. Pick the time and the place and get ready. Hit first. Number 3, kick them while they're down. In business school, they call this building a sustained competitive advantage. What I love about this third rule is that it's not necessarily about you or your term as commander. It's about culture. It's about building on sustained success that will last long past your 12 months as commander. It's about nurturing the talent behind you, giving others an opportunity to step up and learn, make mistakes, be better for it, so that when you leave office, you know that your chapter is in good hands, that your temporary stewardship is over, and it's time for others to step up and take the reins and lead. The second story I want to share, I had the privilege of working for a federal judge many years ago, and on occasion had the opportunity to hear her offer remarks during commencement ceremonies. Granted, this is a different type of ceremony, but I think the key theme that she shared with soon-to-be graduates is incredibly relevant still. She talked about commencement as being one of the singular moments in your life where you get to start off fresh when you wake up the next morning. To me, College of Chapters is very much that kind of experience. No matter what you have said or done or mistakes made in the past, when you leave Roanoke and you go back to your chapter, you've never made a mistake, you've never told a lie, you've never betrayed trust or confidence, you've never chosen the easier wrong over the harder right. Your record is unblemished when you leave here. Your moral compass points true north. Use this opportunity to recalibrate and reset, and then strive every day moving forward to keep that moral compass right on true north. In closing, let me share this. When Tim and Brad were kind enough to invite me to spend a few minutes with all of you this evening, I probably ought to have said no. For those of you who are paying attention, there's a lot going on in Washington, D.C. right now. But I had to say yes. I needed to say yes. Because I think what you all are doing here, what this fraternity is doing here, is perhaps more important now than it's ever been. When I think about the chaos in Washington, when I think about how polarized and divided our country has become, how we're tearing at our social fabric, throwing out the window this notion that you love your neighbor and you respect one another and you listen and you learn before you judge. Oh, and by the way, throw on top of all of that a global pandemic that we've been suffering through for now over 2 years, where folks feel lonely, isolated, disconnected. How is it then that now is not the perfect opportunity for something like Sigma Nu? Now is absolutely the perfect opportunity for the connection, the relationship, the values, the character building, the leadership lessons. I think what we are doing here, I think what all of you are going back to your chapters to do, may be what at the end of the day saves us from the chaos and the division and the polarization and the isolation that we've all experienced increasingly over the last several years. That's why I'm so glad to be here. I look forward to meeting and getting to know many of you this evening. Please count me among the 180,000 Sigma Nu alumni out there, most of whom want nothing more than to see you succeed. We are a resource in good times and bad. Leverage us. Go forth, lead with vision and courage, and make us proud. Thank you so much.